Hey everyone, how we doing out there? My name is Jean, and I have a podcast here on YouTube, and I also have one on Spotify. My YouTube, as you can see, is authentically unapologetic, and on Spotify, you can find it authentically uncomfortable. Now, the reason that I wanted to do this is a special one. This has to do with my podcast, but it doesn't. I have finally decided that I need to tell my intentions, explain myself in a way that so many people will tell me that I really don't have to explain myself. But in some ways, on some things, I think you should, because at least it gives a person an understanding of why you're doing the things that you're doing. Um, as they say, intent matters. It really does. And whew, in the midst of doing this podcast, even though I'm sharing personal experiences, because that's how I get perspective, is not just from my own experiences, but it's also from other people's. And I've been on this planet now long enough, I'm 45, that I have my own real opinions, real experiences to share. And to be very real, because that's what I am, as I try to be 100%, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's why I say being authentic matters. I forgot where I was going to go with that train of thought. That's the other real part about me too, is that I am high functioning ADHD and I am very dyslexic, not just because you can see it and whatever. I forget shit. And here recently I've been learning a lot more about dyslexia and I fit that T of a box better than I do with my ADHD. But anyways, that's not why I'm on here. But yes, explaining yourself. Um, I opened this podcast on religion and with Michelle Remembers. And then my second episode is about a court case that deals with children and how they're not believed. And honestly, that's where I was getting at. Honestly, for a lot of my life, I am a stereotypical woman in the terms of I'm not taken seriously a lot of times, or I'm not believed. I have no idea where I went wrong in terms of why people don't believe me. It is what it is. Usually I used to get really upset and really mad because, I'm like trying to show people different things and nobody's listening. So, yeah, that's kind of the baseline of where this podcast really comes from because I talk out into the ether now and I just hope and pray that somebody listens and somebody will actually hear me. I do this YouTube so you can see me because it puts a face to the voice. Um, Plus, it's very much easier for me to film because I can, go back and look and actually look at my body language and make sure that I am saying what I want to say. Um, I do a lot of free thought, free conversation because I talk first, or I used to be really terrible about it. I would talk first and then I would think later and then think, oh shit, what did I just say? But now I've come to that stage in life where I'm older. And I had a good friend of mine many years ago, she was a childhood friend, say to me that you should never say anything you don't mean. And she was absolutely correct. Never say anything you don't mean. I come with passion. I also sometimes will come with conviction. But if I'm ever wrong in any way, shape, or form, I take accountability for everything that I say, everything that I've done in my past, because I'm not perfect. I have things that I've done that I'm not proud of. I've been with people that I'm not proud of. But that's not why I'm doing this podcast. I'm doing this podcast on these subjects because I have experience. It's not to come out pretentious. It's not to come out being mean, or saying, ha ha ha, I tried to tell you. No, that's actually not where I'm coming from. After a lot of healing, I no longer come at people like that. Back in my early days of high school, my bestie sister, I have two. One I've known since I was 8, and the other one I met when I was in actual high school. But one of the things that she used to love about me is that I used to debate. Comes with that conviction, right? Of not being heard. So when people were wrong about a subject, I would fuck with them. Honestly, God, I was known for this in high school. If you actually got in a conversation with me or pissed me off in any kind of way, it was really hot headed in that term because nobody ever listened to me. If you go back and look at this YouTube channel, you'll see a piece I did on my house I grew up in, and it was haunted. I wasn't believed. My mom regrets it now, but you know, there's just a lot of things in my life that I wasn't believed. And the whole premise of this video or these videos is to show you I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one who has these thoughts. I'm not the only one who has these feelings. Or to show you, hey, guess what? Here's the proof to show that it actually did happen. And by that, I now want to be a voice for people that are not believed and to give you perspective about it. Not to turn it around or make you feel that you were wrong or whatever. That's not my intent. I'm not here to project out either of my experiences to say, the whole you're right, I'm wrong thing. If I come off that way, that's not my intent, and I am apologizing now. But, the one thing that I will not apologize for or tell you my intent, you should know my intent because you on the other side listening to this or seeing this is where I don't compromise with anything. If it deals with children and they tell you something, I'm not projecting out and going to believe them because I wasn't believed. No, I was never sexually assaulted. Actually, I have been in my life, but it was very small. And did I tell anybody about it? No, I didn't. And some people close in my life that may watch this be like, oh my God, I might get a phone call. But small is still big. And I told 2 people and I wasn't believed. But that's not my true intent. My intent, I guess, is to, I guess now that I'm thinking about it, it's kind of contradicting. If he deals with kids and a child comes to me and tells me that they were harmed, I'm sorry. You would be fucking crazy and sick not to follow through with it. Now, to say that, some kids, don't lie, that would be delusion. And that's honestly the name of this whole entire season is psychosis and delusion. I'm digressing because I always digress. But, y'all, this Polly's Island case fucked me up a bit. It really fucked me up. And it made me not question anything that I'm doing because that has nothing to do with it. It messed me up because I lived there. I've been on that island. I've spent a lot of time on that island in the last 15 years. And the one thing that is so heartbreaking on a personal level is that have kids said anything? Have they? There was a video I watched about a woman that was walking down the middle of this church as the pastor before he was arrested when he was doing his we all should forgive bullshit. A woman walks up and says those allegations, allegedly, that it happened to her child. Allegedly. I say allegedly for covering my own ass. The question's out there. The question was even there before this woman stepped out. And my point is that I had a lot of things go on that island where I wasn't believed. Okay, and I'm not going to get into that because now is not the time or place and it doesn't come close to what has happened to these people. So I don't want to take my experiences and force them on other people, but I can't help it. I can't help to think in the back of my mind, who else has this happened to? And a lot of people won't acknowledge, I didn't know this part, that it happened in 2005. Something happened in 2005. I don't know the whole story because I need to look further into it. But that's even more disturbing to me. But is it surprising? Not because of my own personal experiences on that island, but because of what's happening all over the country when it comes to this, when it comes to pastors, it comes to reverends, priests, even. I was reminded here recently that closer to home, because I live in Charleston, outside of Charleston and Goose Creek, that there is a Catholic church in downtown Charleston that had allegations as well. And I do remember seeing it. But to be honest with you, this was back in 2016 when I just moved here. And because of my path that I've walked, up until that point, I am somebody who is very aware what was happening in the Catholic Church. And I've, did a couple TikToks or whatever to explain it. Even on here, I've done a little clips. But yeah, even my hometown church with one of the bishops there, and then I rediscovered in 2018 that he was charged with 41 accounts. So when I moved here in 2016, people, or myself, I can only speak for myself, wasn't surprised to hear about that church in that school because it happens so fucking frequently. So frequently. These spaces are not safe for children. They're not. Unless you are putting things in place. And now I'm going to pause it on my other one and I'm going to keep going. So if you want to watch the rest of this, please follow me here on YouTube. Like I said, authentically unapologetic. Or if I can put this up on Spotify, I will. So cheers on the other side. But I'm going to keep going. So my next episode, honestly, is going to be close to home. I'm going to address this, and I'm also going to address a few others. I'm putting them in a group, and I'm very sorry to put this in a group, but it happens too fucking much. Too much. That too many people, too many children, too many women are being damaged. I don't bring men into this conversation because, no offense, guys, like I just said with the Catholic Church, it wasn't the nuns. Nuns were doing other nefarious shit in some churches, but it was mostly built about men, around men. So who are the targets? Women and children. It does not change when you go to a different congregation and, the reverend can be a woman. Doesn't matter. Human beings are human beings. Nefarious human beings are nefarious human beings. Somebody once said a line to me on something completely different, but it fits into this spot, is that a good man is a fucking good man. There's no in between. There's not a lot of those good men out there who are just good fucking men. We need exceptional men. Okay? So for those of you who are on the side that they believe and think that, men should protect, then why is it the men who are not protecting and covering up in situations like this? Now, in the Pawleys Island case, there were women involved. There was 2 women who were arrested. One was the wife and the other one was a teacher, from what I understand. Again, I need to do more further research and stay up on it. Now, going back to that intent side, this is not for revenge or because I ever felt a certain kind of way against Pawleys. People who really know me know that that's not my intent. I let go of a lot of that shit a long time ago. The side that you're seeing, I'm actually coming from a place of love and respect. I won't give you love and respect if I find out that you were involved. That's just me. I want absolutely nothing to do with people like this. This subject, aside from, you know, Christian spaces or religious spaces, guys, this happens even in homes. This happens. Why do you think the biggest argument for abortion is incest? If you want to get political, a lot of times, this actually, I'm not even going to go there. Forget that. Moving on. Because I don't want to get too political about this. I just want to state the fucking facts. Because I don't really care if you're a Democrat or a Republican, because both sides has their issues on this subject. But what's it going to take for it to stop? I'm 45. This has been going on for centuries. Yes, centuries. There are a lot of other religions out there in the United States, or even, God, around the world, who believe in child brides, that believe that women, in the eyes of God, are built for one reason and one reason only, and that is procreate. I think I said that word right. So they have children. More children. Mormons do this, okay? Catholics, they'll have up to 12 to 15 kids. Now it's evangelical. My dad was the youngest of 12. Like, my mom is the only one who had 2 kids because of fertility issues. I have 0 kids because of fertility issues. If it was up to her, I have 6 brothers before I came, and one of them survived. So, as hard as this is not to make things personal, it's always personal when it comes to religion, because religion is a personal fucking thing. Very, very personal thing. And so is this whole fucking topic. There's that, okay, I'm sure you guys heard the case. This doesn't have to do with religion, as far as we know yet. But there was a girl, and I believe in Appalachia somewhere, who, I think it may have been Ohio, actually. She was arrested along with her husband and her in-laws because she had like 16 kids in a really bad situation. She was having babies at 15. 14. That whole case is wild. That's another one I'm following because it deals with children. Hands down, it's a problem. And I don't fucking care who... Oh, there went the other... I'm not going to edit that out. It's my little tiny camera that I do as a backup. So, excuse me for that loud crash. Uh-oh. Did I put it to an echo? I did. Hold on, guys. I'm going to mute. I can't figure it out. It hit something, so you guys are going to hear a bit of an echo. It's kind of weird. But anyways, like I'm trying to say, and I keep trying to say, is that my intent for this whole thing is personal, and it's not personal. I turned political because of where we are in this country, and just because of my morale and what I stand for, and not because of who I pray to, but just morality. So I'm officially not left, and I'm officially not right. I'm not a conservative, and I have a lot of liberal beliefs and a lot of Democrat beliefs, more so on the conservative side. But no, I respect old school conservatives because that's what I grew up around. These new school conservative evangelicals, Christian nationalists, no, I don't. I don't agree with you. But for the record, because, we see on news now how they're coming after people who have a voice or try to use their voice and call it like an act of terrorism. No, I'm a humanitarian. I don't believe anybody should be murdered for political bullshit, and let alone religious rhetoric bullshit. I believe in human rights for every single one of us, even for these fucking crazy motherfuckers that I'm talking about, these PDFers. I don't believe they should die. Now, if they're a sodomite and doing absolutely egregious shit, I believe of locking them up and never seeing them again. Because the mind of the insane is just that. It's insane, and they will drive themselves even further into insanity. Death is too quick in my eyes. So in a way, you would think that I would believe that death should come to these people because it's a form of mercy. And, but I'm just not there. Why am I bringing that particular thing up too? Because I don't believe two wrongs make a right. At all. I remember as a child, I had an argument with an uncle of mine once, who was I didn't know that he wasn't Catholic, but he was very Protestant. And my dad and him were arguing the Bible about an eye for an eye, right? And I was on the side for exactly how it sounds, an eye for an eye. But in the Bible, it doesn't mean that. At least that's what I was taught by a Protestant and a Catholic. So, what should we do? What can we do? It's actually a lot more fucking simple than you think it is. What can you do? What should you do? Have honest fucking conversations with your children. Talk to them. Stranger danger of the 80s is not a bad thing, people, at all. You know, you see all over social media anymore when people pop up and they're like, you know, I don't believe in sleepovers. I don't either. Because here's the thing, maybe that a lot of people don't know or remember about me. When I was, I want to say high school, maybe, even younger than that, I wanted to be a mom. I wanted to be a mom more than anything in this world. I wanted to be a mom. And, you know, my mom was very Christian, Catholic, who was against all of that stuff, you know, sex before marriage and all the stuff that normally, you know, Christian parents are very well against, birth control, all of it, right? But when I got older and a little later got married, we talked and talked and talked, because that's what you should do. Honestly, we should have did it before we got married, but that's neither here nor there. But you have to have conversations how you're going to raise your kids, right? And at that time, I was in a completely different mind state. In many ways, I was more of an adult at 21 than I was at 31. But my journey, like everybody's journey, is quite seasoned. And I had the reasons to believe the things that I believed at that time. I'll just say that. With that being said, him and I would go back and forth. How are you going to raise your kids? Blah, blah, blah. I was raised Catholic. I wasn't 100% wrapping my life around that because I'm spiritual and I'm also pagan. I'm bringing this up because that is more of a coming out for me to say that. So the more I say it, the more I'm out with it, because it's something that I've kept private, because that's, one, I was taught religion is private, and two, for fear of the repercussion from other Christians. I was married to a pagan. I don't know what he is now. So that part we had in common, and I was all like, I'm still on the same wavelength. This part, I'm about homeschool. Yep, I'm a person who believes in homeschool. I would not have graduated with a diploma if it wasn't for independent study. I'm an independent learner, one-on-one. Now I'm better at being in a classroom, but I was not a classroom kid. That mattered because teaching is teaching. No matter if it's the government telling you what to be taught, or if you go to a private school, it's private, so they can teach you whatever the hell they want you to be taught. So I knew at a very young age how important that was to not force onto a child because I wasn't forced, but I was forced. I was forced until my whys became enough to where my dad's like, okay, this isn't gonna work. My brother was a little bit backwards when he was young, same age. They gave him the choice first. Sorry, you can hear me drinking out of that thing with this mic. This microphone picks up everything. Um, but back to intent. My parents unspokenly somehow conditioned me to keep asking those questions no matter what. Keep asking them. As much as it pissed my mom off growing up, I was a why kid from the time I could talk. Parents out there, I'm sorry, not all kids are like me, and they're not going to ask the why. They just do what they're told. And that's okay. It means that you're raising them that way or whatever. But the problem with not asking why or teaching them to speak up when they don't see the right thing happening is probably the most important thing you can condition your kids next to believing in God. I'm sorry, that's me. I don't care what age you are. I don't care if you're littles. You need to start talking to your children. That's where my conviction comes from. And that's where maybe people are like, well, don't tell me what to do with my kids. Well, maybe if your kids are warned about these things, they have the actual proper tools to be able to make good decisions and not be manipulated by somebody in power or somebody who has this religious umbrella. Teachers, it's the same thing. You know, I have besties who are teachers in regular schools, and they teach you to look for abuse. That if you spot abuse, you need to go tell someone. In public schools, unfortunately, it's like DSS and shit like that, and that's a whole nother conversation. But my point is, in a regular school, that's what they're taught. So in so many ways, and it's insane. It's that psychosis where I feel more comfortable of my kid going to a public school with all the problems that we have in America than I do having somebody indoctrinate my child. Because at least with that the doctrination isn't there, at least I can tell my kid these are the safety things. Because that safety kid is going to teach them out in the world. It's fucked up that it has to be that way, but that's how you can turn it. It's not going to take away your fear, and I'm not saying it's okay and allow these things to happen. It's completely opposite what I'm saying. But it's about survival at this point anymore. Because now it's in our face all the time. You turn on the news. I wasn't trying to make this political, but, people are getting away with things on this fact with children. We have other countries that are sticking up for us in terms of making things happen with these e-files. There you go. Epi. Trying to get away with it. But you get my point. People are protecting him. People have been protecting him. People in our government who are so fucking high up there with these elites, they protect them. So why is it so shocking that regular people, I don't care how much fucking money they have, I don't care what they do with their life, they're regular people at a community church. I don't even, so just talk to your kids, have a conversation, tell them the right and wrong. I know you don't want to bring about sex, but inappropriate touching is a real conversation. And if you're not having these conversations with your kids, then and then them coming to you and telling you that something happens, that's when it is your fault. That is when it is the parent's fault, because you're excusing and it's denial. It's the delusion that it's not happening. Oh, it can't happen to me. Well, it did. In your vicinity, at your table. And how you choose to move forward with it is really what matters. How you choose to move forward. And unfortunately, for victims, they don't get over this. This is not something they get over. As a matter of fact, statistically, because of that trauma, they repeat it. That's where generational curses come from. It goes down the line and down the line and down the line, because it's a form of trauma that never goes away. And every single person out there has been affected by it in one way or another. If it's your family, if it's a family friend, if it's a community church, or everybody knows somebody. It's the same thing with graping of women. All the years I've been on this planet, I know a lot of women who this thing has happened to. That's where Me Too came from. Me Too was mocked, even by people in my life who are no longer in my life, because I saw the way that they treat victims of sexual assault or grape, or, they brushed it off. Many people have said out loud to my face, oh, it's a casting couch, I'm talking about Weinstein, oh, they deserved it. It's no different treating a woman about being raped or sexually assaulted than it is, unfortunately, what happens to these kids. There's communities, churches out there that won't even acknowledge that a 14-year-old child is 14, that they're able to get married. Child brides. Look them up. What is it going to take for people to wake up and realize that this is a problem? And the only conclusion I can come to is human behavior of human nature. It's psychology. People don't do things until it happens to them directly. And then they can grasp an understanding. They can process it in a way that they've never processed it before. And to be honest with you, it's too late. It's gross. So why are we not preventing things as simple as background checks? That was the other thing that bothered me about Polly is that this church didn't even do a background check, because, my opinion, the pastor knew. Because this person went to that pastor probably looking for safety in many ways, or forgiveness. He actually says it in his little speech about forgiveness, that he should be forgiven. Forgive me for moving this around, but my thing's about to fall off. So, yeah, I'm kind of repeating myself over and over here, but I just wanted to get on here and tell you guys that my intent, I guess, is to make people listen, or I can't make, and that's the lesson that I had to learn throughout my life, is you can't make people listen to you. So I'm just going to keep saying it and saying it and saying it and saying it and saying it. Slowly people are finding out about my podcast here, but hopefully I can load this onto my RSS here on Spotify so you guys can hear me and listen. I don't know what I'm going to title this yet, just maybe my personal intermission of it. And if you haven't seen it yet, please go check out episode 3. It's mostly about Hillsong. It's very similar to what I'm talking about. And it's very similar in terms of what happened to that pastor, Pastor Carl, even in Australia. Brian Wilson. At least I hope I just said his name right, because I feel like I said in another one that But the one thing that I did have a note by, and I'm going to say this twice because I do re-listen to these to make sure that I'm stating what I want to. So it's really weird actually listening to yourself or watching yourself. But I have a note here that says make sure to note that, oh, see, I even said his name wrong. I'm not perfect, guys. So apologies to whoever Brian Wilson is. I don't know that name. Brian Hudson. He was not accused of the crimes of the minor. His people were. It's very similar to what we're actually seeing. Now, why this didn't happen to Brian Houston, I have no idea. Probably because he's in Australia and he's not actually a U.S. citizen, so maybe that has something to do with it. But, Brian Houston did try to maneuver his way into Trump's camp, so there's that. But thankfully, for once, his team made the right decision and say, no, you are not allowed, and then kept himself away from it. So maybe that's a lesson for out you Christian nationalists out there. If you're Trump, if you're your man that you think is, God or a savior of God, he's turning his camp's turning his back away from these people. Don't you think you should too? Anyways, I can go on a long rant about that, but I wanted to make that very, very, very clear. I did misspeak or misspoken or whatever in that last episode. I think I made it out to be that Brian Houston was accused of crimes. As far as I know, the research I've done, I misspoke. I don't know where I got that from. But the fact that he knew about it is pretty much the same thing in Pawleys Island right now. He knew about it. The pastor knew about it. And he covered up crimes. And that crime that he even tried to say, and the sheriff made a statement about it, is that, he's like, oh, he's never been around kids. He's got pictures. Like, how delusional, right? It's psychosis. That by that point, it's not even delusion. It's so far beyond. It's gone into straight psychosis and believing that you can do whatever the fuck you want as long as God forgives you. God will always forgive you. Not in my Bible. Not as a Catholic. They know fire and brimstone's pretty real. And from my catechism teachings, my father was also a catechism teacher, so was my mother. And my father was a confirmation teacher. So yeah, guys, that's children are what was taught to us, that they are the most important in God's eyes, our children. So why don't we protect them? Why do we not protect them? The only story in the Bible that I remember that dealt with children, I believe it was King Solomon. I could be wrong on who the king was, but it was a story of a woman, a mother, whose child was taken by the king. And I can't remember why, but he was taken. And this king didn't, I think it was, I said Father Solomon, sorry. King Solomon says to this mother, because he didn't believe her, that this child, she was begging, for him to let it go or let that child go. And he looked at this mother and said, if you were really the mother, then, I think, oh my God, see, it's been so long since I heard the story. There was two mothers, and that's what it was. They were fighting over that child and as to who the real mother was. And the king looked at both of these women and said, okay, well, fine. This child, just to get you two to shut up. These are my words, obviously. To get you guys to both, stop. I'm going to kill this baby. And then you won't even have to, then the problem's solved. This child's gone. The wrong mother agreed for some reason. I don't remember why. But the real mother was like, you know what? No. If that is the case because you don't believe me and because I'm stating this case that you're going to take away or destroy this child, then I will remove myself from the situation. That's protecting a child out of love. You'd rather give away that baby than to cause harm. Why aren't we learning this lesson? That real mother or the non-mom was willing, saying, I don't care. In my eyes right now, that's the church. You're in denial. It's not really your child, so you don't care. And the real moms are ready, so into their faith, the real mother of the story. So much in her faith that, she didn't care as long as that child lived. It's a wild story, and, there's so many holes with it. And like I said, it's been over 20 years since I've actually heard that whole story. My point is that we need to protect them better. You guys need to do better. God made the decision to not allow me to have children. I had to choose between life and death in my situation, and I chose life. Adoption is real in my life, and I don't have to be any age to adopt, so I've got a lot of time. But that's my choice, my decision. I've gotten hell this year, actually, from someone who wouldn't even believe me when, they were so stuck in their own mind that they wished that I had kids. And as soon as I said that, God made me this way, they told me, oh, you don't know. You don't know. You don't know that for a fact. It's God's decision. It's God's decision. Well, I know from my neurosurgeon that God made that decision. But it pissed me off. So in some ways, yes, maybe my convictions do come from a certain place, but never in my convictions will I ever try to tear someone down or make them feel so egregious about themselves and what they're doing that that's how I'm going to change their mind. Sorry to burst your bubble, that's a bunch of bullshit, because I would never do that. I'm not that girl in high school that will tell you all certain kind of fucking ways of who you are and how to get there. And no, that's just mean girl energy. And I'm not a mean girl. I was very misguided back then and very angry. And as I say all the time, I woke up different after my brain surgery, guys. I just did. At least I love to say. Maybe it was my frontal lobe. Maybe my frontal lobe finally fucking developed after my brain surgery. I don't know. But I do know that I hope that it's received that I'm coming from a good place when I talk about these things. And the good ones will know that I'm coming from a good place. And all the haters out there that have anything to say, like I'm out of touch and I don't know what I'm talking about. No, ma'am, you're out of touch because you don't know me as well as you think you do. And you didn't watch me walk the 45 years I've walked. So, yeah. I hope all of you take this very well. And if you don't, then I guess that's just that. I guess that's just how it goes, right? But, yeah. If you're against me, then you're against protecting children. So I protect kids in the best way that I know how. And if it means trying to get through to some people, these Christian crazy people, then that are so locked in their minds that they think they are when they're not, then as they say in the South, bless your heart. Bless your heart. You shouldn't be around children yourself. If you're just completely delusional about it and say, oh, that doesn't happen to me, then bless your heart. But on that note, I'm already at 43 minutes. And I'm going to rewatch this psychobabble of an explanation. And I hope I was able to say everything that I needed to say about it, about my intent. Okay, well, the last thing I will say that I will admit is the first episode when I did this, it happened after a conversation of being drilled, hungover as shit, about religion and who I am and what I stand for. So in many ways, maybe that was my other intent, to show the world what I'm about and who I am. And so things don't get twisted ever in the future. There's a lot of people in my life who do not listen to this podcast or do not watch me, and that's okay. But these are things that I will not bring up unless they're brought up to me. I talk about my podcast, I say I got it, and if a person doesn't even question, then I'm not going to sit here and tell you about it. So I guess I can call these, the words of me that are not forgotten, because whatever. I don't fucking know. I'm trying to be poetic and it's not working. Oh, geez. But, yeah, this is it. Here we go. I'm going to end this here, guys. Okay, so last but not least, my name is Jean Holman. Hopefully it's written in paper by the end of 2026, but my main name is Jean Holman. That's what I'm going by. And I have a podcast here on YouTube and also Spotify. So a reminder is to stay authentically you, no matter fucking what, no matter how uncomfortable it is. You need to not be so see, I can't even say it right, man. I need to get this down before I go further into this podcast. Stay authentically you always, no matter what, even if it makes you feel uncomfortable. You have to stay authentic, and you can't apologize for it. There. That's what I was trying to say. Cheers, y'all. Till next time. Mwah. Much love.